I want both recorded. Today we're going to go a whole nother layer. And so I'm going to add one piece, but really, and so for those that are watching the replay as well, first of all, this is day 2 of Parenting by Design, but we are going to get into some things that are going to be applicable even if you have the little ones. If you've got kids that are not in school, I know yesterday talking about learning styles and play, still impactful for the little ones, but today in particular, especially when we talk about energy and how they're using energy and in bedtime, morning and bedtimes or morning and evenings. These are things that you can be putting in place now regardless of what age your child is. And honestly, those of you that have the littles that are not in school yet, you are at a bit of an advantage because you can start creating routines that set them up so that when they start school, you already have a sense of how to plug them into that. Because I know for many of you, if you've got kindergartners or first graders and your first child is going to school, it can be extremely disruptive in the household and it can set everything spiraling and spinning. And I need my fan. So I just want you to recognize that there's going to be a lot of valuable information for you regardless of what age child you are parenting right now. And so today and tomorrow are really going to give you some support around that. And so I'm curious, because Allie, you're on right now, any major, like what, I'm curious what further insights or kind of ahas you've had since yesterday that may have dropped in for you.
I think for me, it was much more around like, oh, I want to pay attention now. I want to see like how my daughter walks in the door and what that looks like. And it, like, the more I was watching, the more I went, oh, that is a lot like how we talked about. And same thing for my son. And then he was having kind of a really hard day yesterday where multiple things got him upset enough where he was in tears and it was like, okay, this is also like let's let's observe it first and just kind of see what's happening, what's going on, and then think about what, if anything, do I need to do.
Yeah. Well, and that, honestly, that's a perfect segue to what we're going to talk about first before we talk about the morning and evening routines. Because, I mean, I don't have to tell anyone on this call the energy in the world right now, like amplified in the last 24 hours. And here's the thing, even if your kids don't know exactly what's going on, although if they are on socials in any way, shape, or form, they are seeing what's going on. And some of it's been very violent. And depending on how your kids are wired, they may be picking up energy they don't have language for that is going to take them out, be extra heavy and emotional. I know even before this call, I had to do some, I have a lot of energy and usually can have boundaries, but I also have a lot of markers for extreme sensitivity. I have the most sensitive channel. So I am a deep empath. And I literally felt like I wanted to burst into tears coming into this call. And I have the ability to regulate that. And so I have language for that. I know why I'm picking that up. But I want us to be very cognizant that the timing of this class is actually very on point because right now our kids need more support than ever. And they may be needing support in ways they can't articulate because they're feeling the magnitude of what's going on in the world right now. Even if they don't know exactly what that is, they're still picking up the energy. And so I want to offer that because the last 24 hours, not to mention we're on the anniversary of 9/11, there is and we're in an eclipse portal, and there is a lot of very heavy, dense energy. And so I want to offer this for all of you as parents. This is not about in any way, shape, or form you being perfect as a parent. There's no such thing. That's ridiculous. It's about you being present first for yourself and then being present. And to your point, Allie, just being able to observe and stay curious and hold a space, but also be okay with and sometimes communicating with your kids. I don't have an answer. I don't know, but I am a safe space for you to land and I get you're angry right now. I get you're sad right now. I get you don't know why you're feeling these things. And let's work through that together. So I'm offering you some opportunity to give yourself grace and to give your kids maybe a little extra patience and grace right now, because our children are designed to pick more of this energy up than even we are. And they are very susceptible to what's going on in the world right now because they do have different emotional intelligent codes, which means our children have more empathy than we do and have tendencies to carry a lot. It's why we have so many kids that are labeled sensitive or neurodivergent or any of the other ridiculous labels that are out there that want to shame these kids. It's actually their magic, it's their gifts. They're here to teach us greater empathy, patience, compassion, kindness, grace, yet they're often at ages or have not been given the skills. And again, because some of you haven't been given the skills and you don't know differently, not given the skills on how to actually articulate that, regulate their nervous systems, ground themselves, and be able to be a filter, not a sponge. And so we're going to talk about that because this plays into what they need at the end of the day and what they need at the beginning of the day, because creating what I call the bookends gives them sort of a force field so that they're not already going into these spaces exhausted, burnt out, because if they are not resourced, they will be very susceptible to taking this energy in and not knowing what to do with it, and it amplifies for them. Okay, so again, while we're in the midst of some very heavy energy, the timing of this is kind of on point because now more than ever, I felt, and I think that's part of where, and honestly, I'm just going to say I am a very emotional person and I can feel the tears just right at the back of my eyes. This is why this work matters. This is why I need to be having these conversations, because our children are hurting. We are hurting. And collectively, we have not been taught the skills to navigate. And so we're reacting in ways that are horrific and awful and whatever. And so I just want to ground us in that because today really is going to be important to support that. Okay. That being said, already getting very emotional. So those of you that have an open solar plexus, please take care because my emotions might be very big on this call. And we'll talk about that because we're going to talk about what is needed to discharge when that buildup comes in. So today we're really going to focus on morning and evening routines and the bookends, as I call them. Really, really important. How we start the day and how we end the day. It significantly shifts how we hold energy and what we do with energy through the rest of the day and through our work. So that being said, I want to show you. And so Allie, I'm curious, as you see this, what is the first thing you notice between these two charts? Like what just pops for you?
I mean, it's the colors for me. It's
Yeah. Yeah, one
that,
chart's really colored in and one chart's really
right.
light. And notice, and I did this, I think by accident, but it's kind of on purpose. Notice that what's colored in one chart is open in the other. And
Uh-huh.
this is a common dynamic in a household. And I'm going to tell you, if you've got this child on the left, God help you, and I can say that because this is my chart. This child has a ton of energy, a ton of power, and has a very set way they show up in the world. They are bringing a lot of energy into a space. Even when they don't want to or mean to, they have a vibe. Oops. They have a their energy walks in the room before they do. So I'm saying that again, I can say that a little tongue in cheek, and I say that because this is my chart. I'm just gonna be really honest, and this is one of my clients' charts. This is a 6-2 manifesting generator right here. This is a lot of power. This is somebody who gets, when they are lit up, it's big energy, it's fast energy, and it can take over a room. And why I say that is because I had a leader once that told me, she's like, Candy, you can walk in a room and either lift it up like a congregation, or you can walk in a room and flatten them. And you don't even have to say a word. Now, of course, I spun out of control because I was like, that's not fair. I'm not responsible. She's like, for someone that keeps wanting to know, think they got a big purpose, maybe when you're done with the BS in your head, you'll see it standing right in front of you. I have a responsibility with the amount of definition. So when you look at this chart, what I want, I'm not going to go into all the details of this, but this is the additional layer I want you to see. What you see colored in is what's called the centers. So these are the big energy sources in our design that one of two things is happening. We are either broadcasting energy into the world 24/7 like a radio station. We are a radio station that's turned on and we are bringing the energy and we are the ones putting the energy into the space, or we are absorbing and amplifying the energy from others, the world, and the way the planets are moving. And we are bringing that in. So we're either putting energy out or we're drawing energy in. And most of us have a combination. I have seen people, I've had 2 clients that are fully defined. That's a whole nother story. That's a big vibe. And that's somebody that likely is going to struggle with some coaching and some other things because they are very set in how they show up and they have a very different purpose, especially if they're a 1-4 or a 4-1 and they're fully defined. I'm just going to say they got a path and there's a whole different parenting strategy for that. I'm not going to get into that because that population is like less than 1%. The fact that I know 2 is kind of crazy. That being said, we have a blend usually, with the exception of a reflector. A reflector will be all white. That's also different. And we're going to talk about how a reflector takes energy in. They have no centers defined because they are constantly being that karmic mirror, playing back what they're feeling from the energy in any room or environment. Most of us have a combination of what is known as defined energy. So anything that, and don't worry about the colors themselves. It's all a matter of who's branding what. Colors don't mean squat. It just, if it's colored or not colored is what I'm concerned about. If it's colored in on your chart, and you can see I got 6 out of 9 centers, that is what we call defined. That means you have consistent access to that energy. This is where your personality comes from. This is where your soul curriculum comes from. This is where you have a vibe. And this is the energy you're broadcasting and putting into the world 24/7. Okay, does that make sense? On the flip side, anything that's white in your chart, whether it has black circles in it or not, is what we call undefined or open, meaning you're drawing energy in. Where you have those little black circles means you actually have a flavor of definition in there. So you do have some either karmic lessons or personality, and you still have to deal with the openness of that center, which means you're constantly bringing that energy in and things are amplifying. So let me give you a real example. I'm going to give you I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm going to just talk about what this can create as a dynamic in your family. This is very common. This is where you might have 2 kids that either really bond or 2 kids that are going to freaking kill each other and always feel like there's amplified drama when they're around each other. So depending on, and we have what's known as electromagnetic energies, which means where you see, so for example, see in my chart where there's a 21, but there's only half the channel complete. If the other person brings the 45, we complete a circuit together. Now, this is one circuit that can create a lot of power struggles. There are other circuits when they come together that can feel really safe and really juicy and really grounding. So when you look at the electromagnetic dynamics in your family, you can really see why there's tensions or why there's challenges between 2 kids and not 2 other kids, or why there's a challenge between one child and one parent and not with the other, because those electromagnetics create kind of their own energy, so to speak. And there's a whole dynamic that's at play when we complete circuitry together. Is that making sense? Okay. That being said, I'm not worried about the circuitry right now. That's a whole nother level. And I'm going to talk about how we can do that. I'm going to talk about that today and talk about tomorrow. If you're feeling like, ooh, I already know I want to go deeper, I'm going to talk about what that looks like because I'm going to be very clear. I am not offering you a program that is not what is the next natural step. I'm going to talk about something entirely different because this work is very personal. And so inside of that, 2 things I want to give you an example of. If, for example, you have someone like me who's I have one of the most emotional circuits in what makes my solar plexus defined. It often brings the energy of crisis. It brings this is the most sensitive channel in the chart, by the way. This is the one that says, even though my solar plexus is divine, I feel everything. I also have another marker that makes me pick up everything. So I am an empath, but in a different way than this person here, who, by the way, this is a 5-1 projector. So this is someone, if you have a child that is open in this triangle right here, which is the solar plexus, they are an empath, like nobody's business. They are constantly picking up everybody else's emotions and feelings. Now, this is an example of where you might need to lean in with a child, because they can actually feel like they're the ones that are most emotional versus the people in your family that actually have the defined solar plexus. Because again, remember, they're absorbing it and they're amplifying it. So oftentimes it's your open areas that actually show more of the energy around it because they're amplifying it. So right now, with what's going on in the world, if you've got a kid that's having a meltdown, if you've got a kid that feels like all they want to do is cry, or their feelings are so big, helping them recognize if the feelings are theirs or if they're someone else's is going to be very significant. So asking them questions like, if they're a sacral type, it's a yes, no. Is this are you feeling sad, or are you feeling sad for the world or somebody else? Is this your feeling, or are you picking up somebody else's feeling? And depending on their age, they actually know. They can't articulate it for you by themselves, but when you ask them yes, no questions, they'll be like, okay, so this isn't your energy. So how do we, and this might be one where you have them shake their body out. You might have them take deep breaths into their diaphragm to get back in their body. You might have them repeat an affirmation that says, not my circus, not my monkeys. This isn't mine. This isn't mine. This isn't mine. I don't need to fix it, hold it, or do anything with it. I am a filter, not a sponge. I am a filter, not a sponge. I am a filter, not a sponge, right? So whatever that looks like, if it's a non-sacral, it might be, how do you know this feeling is yours? In what ways is this your emotion, or is this somebody else's emotion? So what you want to do is, if you've got a kid that's got a lot of big emotion right now going on, and you're looking at their chart going, wow, they're open, they are likely amplifying the energy of everyone around you. And if you have a child in your house that they're next to that has a lot of emotional waves and goes, one of the best things you can do when the emotional child gets triggered is get them out of each other's aura. Have your emotional child. So here's the thing too. We have a culture that likes to shame. 50% of the population is emotional, by the way. And I think it's interesting. We live in a culture that says emotions are bad, that we're not allowed to feel what we feel. And God forbid we can get like on a swing. I know when I have an emotional wave, I need to actually tell people, this is me being a Manny Jen. Here's an example of informing. And manifestors, if you are emotional, you need to inform this too. I'm going into one of my waves, or I'm feeling kind of funky. I'm going to say mama needs a little time right now. Because here's the thing. If you don't inform somebody that you're getting into that funk, or you're in that funk, and your wave starts going, your child, will I quit doing that? Your child is picking up all of it and amplifying it. And what can happen is it gets very dramatic and out of control very fast, because you're already in your, God bless Candy, you are already in your funk. And now you got a kid that's spinning out of control, which is not going to help your funk. And so now you're in this like tension, and you're in this drama, and the best thing that you can teach someone in your family that is an open solar plexus, if you have people in your family with defined solar plexus, is that when that defined solar plexus is getting into their wave, the best thing they can do is go somewhere else. And it doesn't have to be for a long period of time. You just need to break the aura so that you can separate yourself and go, oh, that's not my energy. Okay, they just need to be in their thing, and I don't have to carry it. I don't have to do anything with it. But what happens oftentimes is the person with the open solar plexus stays in the same energy with the person that's having their emotional wave, and that's where things go sideways. Is that making sense? Another example of that is if you look at the bottom, see how, by the way, this is where all my energy comes from. I got a lot of energy in this root, which means I get a lot of adrenalized and why I got switches. But if you have someone with an open root, and by the way, if you got this combination and this too, but if you got this combination with somebody who's defined here, this person over here, this child. So if you got a child, like this is a perfect example. You got a manifesting generator, a lot of energy. When they are lit up, they get a lot of shit done and they move very fast. This child here may inadvertently and unconsciously feel a pressure to do the same things that this child is doing and at the same speed and be under constant emotional distress and pressure. They will feel like this one is telling them to move faster, when if you really break it down, oftentimes this person is not saying that. This person's energy is interpreting that. I've had clients that I've had to work with. They're like, oh my God, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I did not say you need to go fast. I did not say you need to like go take care of all the things. Notice that I did not say that. Your energy is picking that up because I'm getting really big right now. So this is an example of when you understand these energetics, you can look at what's going on in the dynamics of your family and especially with your children. Where are they picking up energy and amplifying it that's not theirs? And how do they create healthy boundaries around that? And for the child that has the definition, they need to take a responsibility to know they have a vibe that can knock people out. Because for me, I'll give you an example. When my energy is in a shitty space, the best thing I can do is stay home because I don't have a choice. My energy walks in a room before I do. Again, lift it up, flatten it. That if I'm in an energy that's just pissy, I should probably cancel my plans, stay home. And I've had friends that have gotten very mad at me for that. And I'm like, I don't think you want me bringing this energy in there. In fact, I know you don't. Because my responsibility is right now, I need to be in this funk. I need to honor that I'm in this funk, and I'm not going to take everybody out in the process. So you can see what you're teaching your kids in either space. True. For the one where they're defined, they have a responsibility to know the quality of the energy they're bringing in the room. If they're undefined, they have a responsibility to know that they pick up other people's energy, because one doesn't get to be the jerk that says, well, that's just who I am, suck it up. And the other one doesn't get to play the martyr going, oh, you take me out every time you're in a room, because that's what happens when people don't take responsibility. So this is an opportunity to teach your kids how to tune into their energy. You can use, what's great about human design is putting them, kids get this. I will tell you, when I do readings with kids, they get this faster than parents do. Again, they get it. They're coded this way. But when you show them a visual, they can actually see, and you can have talking points because they have a map to look at. Remember, you taking a lot of pressure in your head to figure things out. You're always inspired. Let's make sure the quality of what you're focused on is the right thing for you. How do you check in with your body? How do you do those things, right? So it's all about teaching your kids how to honor their energy and take responsibility for which energy. Are they bringing energy into the space, or are they absorbing the energy that's there? Does that make sense? Is this helpful? Okay. So this sets us up then for the conversation. And again, I don't want to go too deep into that. I could spend forever just talking about centers. I want to show you then the getting ready for school, the bedtime ritual, and some other considerations that either came through our conversation yesterday or some things I want you to keep in mind with and by the way, if this is both for your child, and I would say if you're a manifestor parent, Allie, these are some things you need to consider, which again, isn't always easy. I'm going to be really clear to say the more people in your family, the harder it is sometimes to live in your own energy and design. And the more you take care of yourself and align yourself and your energy, the more you can model that same behavior for your children. So there's both. Because I hear a lot of parents, especially mothers, who'll say, I give it 100% to my kids. It's all about my kids. And I would offer, you can't give 100% to your kids if you haven't given 100% to yourself. You need to fill your cup first, or you are not able to be present and support them and do all the things. So if you are resonating as the parent in this energy, you might need to consider altering your morning routine and your bedtime routine, especially if you are a non-sacral type. So the manifestors, projectors, and reflectors, you may need to get up earlier than your kids to give yourself the space you need to bring your energy in alignment before all the chaos of everybody else's energy takes you out. Because if you have a lot of openness in your chart, note you are picking up all their energy and drama too, which then also contributes to why mornings can feel so chaotic. Okay. So getting ready for school for a manifestor child. Here's the thing, and I said this yesterday, and I say this with a lot of love. Your manifestor child is going to be one of your most difficult children to raise because they will not fit a traditional way of parenting. There is a really delicate balance, especially the younger the manifestor child is, with where you say no and where you let them be in their own rhythm. Because here's the thing, the more you say no to a manifestor child, the more they shut down their creative genius, and they become people pleasers that really pull themselves out of alignment to fit somebody else's expectation or box. That being said, you also have to have boundaries and clear things, especially when your child is younger, rules they have to follow. But for a manifestor child and a manifesting generator to some degree, that delicate balance of rules and boundaries is going to keep challenging you, because the ultimate thing your manifestor child needs is freedom and autonomy, including how they do their morning. Some mornings are going to move differently than other mornings. And so one of the things that would be really great for your child is having some agreements in the family around what things need to be done by what time and what time they need to be out of the house, with the checklist of things done. How they do that in that time, the more freedom you can give them and autonomy, the better. And if you know they need 20 minutes in the shower, how can you carve out time, if they got to get up earlier than other people, that they get 20 minutes uninterrupted and not someone banging on the door? Because many of you manifestors know you get some of your downloads in the shower, that like you get your genius shit in the shower. And in how do you create agreements in the family where there are clear non-negotiables, and then there's room inside those non-negotiables where your manifestor child can be in their flow uninterrupted? This will be also true with your manifesting generator. One of the best things, if it's possible, 0 devices, especially for your non-sacral children. Your children that don't have that should not be on devices before they go to school. I know this is a hard thing sometimes, because especially if you've got multiple kids and you are trying to like get them all, oh, Melissa's joining us. If you're trying to get them all coordinated together, sometimes it's easy to be like, oh, just go watch your show or go. Manifest your children should be as device free as possible for as long as possible, so they're not picking up that other energy that's disrupting. I would have them go outside on like in the backyard or whatever and read or listen to music or just sit in nature, versus giving them a device to occupy them while you're getting the rest of the family ready. And Allie, as a manifester, I'm just curious how that resonates with you if you had full authority to have your morning be the way you want it.
Oh boy, if only I had full authority to have my morning the way I wanted. Yes, it would sound a lot like this. And I've done a lot of, I guess, negotiating with my family around, hey, I need, let me drink a tea and let me just get into my day before you come to me, before we do this. Don't bombard me with all the things. I need time. Some days works better than others.
So just know this is a prime example. If you have a manifestor child or you're a manifestor, this is the way you need to start your morning. It should not be feeling frenzied. It should not be in everybody else's energy. And again, the younger the child, the more challenging this can be. And hi, Melissa, I see you joined. The more the younger your child is, the more you're going to need rules and structure, but the more you can create freedom and flexibility in that framework, the more that child's going to stay in alignment. And so, again, this is not easy, especially if you've got multiple people and schedules and things. That's why having very clear agreements and expectations as a family, you might even need a chart. This is what time this needs to be done. This is what time you need to be out of the house. And then giving them, especially as they get older, more and more autonomy to manage their flow and keep the rest of the family out of their flow while they do their morning thing. On the reverse side, bedtime. They need any non-sacral, and I will say you will see this for projectors and reflectors as well, but manifestors are going to be a little bit different than projectors and reflectors. That being said, they need quiet downtime and space for reflection before bed. They also need, and this can also be very difficult, they need to go to bed before they're actually tired because it can take them up to an hour to discharge energy that they have built up. They also need to be device free. They can read a book, they can listen to a story. But the other thing, and this is where this is going to get really hard. And so, those of you that are non-sacral type parents or have non-sacral type children, so if you are a manifestor or projector in particular, on this, you're going to need space after you put your kids to bed, especially if you have generator children, to discharge their energy. But if you've got a child that's a projector or a manifestor or a reflector, be careful who puts them to bed and how long they stay in their room. And this can be very challenging. If a manifesting generator or generator puts them to bed, have them read them a story right away and be the one that puts them to bed first, and have somebody, if possible, that doesn't have that sacral energy come in the room if they need someone to sit with them. Because what will happen is your child may have a lot of difficulty discharging energy if sacral energy is in the room at bedtime. And this is not an easy thing when, especially if you got both parents. This might be if both parents are generator types, but you got projector kids, you may want to see if you have another child that's either a manifestor or project, can go spend time with them or teach that child how to be okay by themselves to discharge their energy. Help them recognize they need a space to be out of other people's auras, especially that sacral energy, because otherwise it can create that amped up energy that they can't get a quality sleep. Your non-sacral types likely are going to need more sleep than your generator types. The more consistent you can be about their bedtime, the more they can have a very ritual type bedtime, and this is for both projectors and reflectors as well, the better you are setting them up for success. If the more routine they had, now manifestor is going to be a little bit different because again, they move in their waves of how their flow goes. At nighttime, though, I will say for most manifestors, a consistent routine at bedtime can still feel very good and lock them in. And Allie, I'm curious for you, because you're a manifestor, you can validate this or not. Would you say that's true or not?
Yeah, like the whole I'm laying there and my husband is immediately asleep like within 5 minutes and I'm like, okay, well, now I'm just gonna keep laying here for another like
He's a
long.
generator, right?
Yeah, yes.
So I'm also going to say, and most people don't want to hear this, just as a side note, those of you that are non-sacrals who sleep, I'm a sacral and I'm a manic gem with a lot of projected energy. And I am very clear. I do not want someone sleeping next to me. My dog doesn't even sleep next to me. He sleeps on the floor because I'm just too, it really takes a lot for my energy to come down. I will say, ideally, if you were a manifestor, projector, or reflector parent, you might actually need to consider a night or two where you sleep in a separate room by yourself to actually get
Mhm.
the deepest, most quality sleep you can get, because you are sleeping next to a sacral person who is not, you are still picking up that energy all night long. Even though when we sleep, our energetic aura changes, if their routine is different than yours going to bed and you don't get to bed first, or you're there and they're still wound up coming in the room, they can wake you up and disrupt your sleep. So I'm going to say, I know we don't live in a culture where that's accepted and people are like, I know, but I sleep. And some I'll hear projectors say, I sleep better, because depending, again, if you look at that slide we were just talking to, depending on how your electromagnetics are, that person might feel safe to you. That person might actually help ground you. But just know, ideally, non-sacral types, including your children, and this can also be difficult. Parents like to put kids in the same room, especially if they're close in age. If you got a non-sacral sleeping in the same room with the sacral, your projector, manifestor, reflector child may not be getting the quality sleep they need. And again, there's not always those options. I'm talking from an ideal perspective. Also know that your manifestor child is going to be the child that challenges you the most. And as a parent, you were here to learn surrender, because again, it's that balance between, where do you say no? Where do you give them freedom? Where do you know they're going to blow shit up, especially if they're a line 3 or a line 6 as a kid, as we talked about yesterday? That balance is going to be an ongoing struggle, especially if you're a parent that has a lot of openness, because you're picking up a lot of that chaotic energy yourself. And so being present, really learning the art of surrender, forgiveness for yourself, grace, knowing you're not going to always get it right, but pay attention to the energetics when there's a hard no, and ask yourself, do I really need to say no, or am I condition? Is this a condition no? Because this is what I've put in place for my other kids. This is a kid, and this is where even talking to your other children, projector is going to be the same thing around this in some capacities, but manifestor in particular, you might need to have a conversation with your other kids that about their energy, and that the rules don't necessarily look the same for everyone, and in a way that makes sense, that because a generator is going to need a very different routine than a manifestor is going to need. And how do you honor as much as you can for both? And that's what I would offer as we go through the rest of these. Is that making sense? Okay. So let's move then to the generator child. I'm going to say the biggest thing, first of all, again, I'm going to stress, overall, now depending, if you go back to that first slide I showed you with the openness, if you have a generator child with a lot of openness, there's a caveat, or if they have some specific markers, overall, your generator child's going to be your easiest one to get set up for mornings and evenings, and just parent in general based on traditional parenting. Once you understand your generator child and how they're wired, it's literally just letting them be in their rhythm and being sure that they know the guidelines. They know this needs to be done by this time. Then, like, it's really kind of effortless, which is good, especially if you have manifestor child, projector child who are going to need more attention. And once you get that generator child kind of in their sweet spot, now you don't want to neglect and not give them attention, but they kind of run on their own, like they just kind of like hum. That being said, for generators, their morning is one of the most critical things for them, where your manifestor, your projectors, and your reflectors are going to often need a ramp up in the morning. They're going to need some space. They're going to need slow. Your generator, especially if they are healthy and aligned, they're going to bounce out of bed lots of times, and they're going to be a barrel of they're the kid oftentimes. So is your mani gen, depending on how they're wired. They're one of the other. I'm the opposite. I'm the do not talk. I have a lot of projected. Don't talk to me in the morning. But a generator, oh God, whenever I have generator friends stay with me, I'm like, please do not talk to me till I get my coffee. I swear to God, I'm not even going to be able to grunt at you. I'm going to look at you with a look that's like, are you really talking to me? I haven't even like, stop. But a generator child often is the one that bounds out of bed, has all kinds of energy, wants to talk about everything, wants to tell you all about their dreams and this, and oh my God, I had the weirdest thing last night, or oh, I'm so excited about school, and then did you know I have a project? And they're moving. The biggest thing you can do to help support your generator child is that they need to move their body almost the minute their feet hit the floor. So you might have a way that they have a little exercise or play routine. One of the best things you can do for your generator is to help them burn off some of that energy. They have been laying flat for 8-ish hours. Their body is needing to move. This is also true of your manifesting generators. This is the kid that should go walk the dog in the morning. This is the kid that should like maybe do some of their chores in the morning. This is the kid that should like get up and do jumping jacks by the bed and just be like, I'm a Power Ranger or whatever it is, and like burn off some energy even before they come downstairs to have breakfast. Truthfully, because again, their generator switch just went off. And so their whole thing is, how do you prime their blood, their cells, they're ready to go. And they need a way to channel. This is why mornings can get really chaotic with a generator type child, is because they get all this energy and they're being like told, okay, sit down and have breakfast. They're going to go to school and sit down for 8 hours. You need to like give them a way to burn off some energy that it'll help them focus at school when they do have to sit. Now, a generator is going to sit better than a manifesting generator, but I just want you to think about also the more consistent you can create a routine for a generator, both morning and bedtime, the better. That being said, this is where this gets a little squirrely for a generator. Generator will not do well with a set bedtime unless they have a set way they exhaust out the last of their mental and physical activity. If you have, especially Manny gens are the worst at this. I'm not kidding. They are the worst sleepers. I can attest to this. Generator, if they are burnt out, and if you have a generator child, my brother is like this. My brother would be done playing and literally fall asleep in his toy box. Like my friend Debbie does this. I'll be in mid conversation with her. We'll be all lit up and she's done. She just falls asleep. And me as a Manny Jen is like, are you kidding me? I got another hour and a half to bring my energy down because you just got me all lit up. When a generator child plays hard, works hard, does whatever, they will literally drop and they can nap anywhere. They're annoying because they literally, and they don't care if it's comfortable or not. My brother can sleep standing up. My brother, when he's done, will just be like, I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Are you actually kidding me that they can just drop and sleep anywhere? If you wear your child out enough that when it comes to their bedtime, they should be able to drop in, go to sleep, and that child will sleep through the night, no problem. If you have trouble getting your generator to calm down, you might need to go. and I like to say this, and I don't mean this to sound kind of like you're taking a dog, but you might need to go take them for a run. You might need to have them like run some laps around the house. You might need to take them for a run around the block. Really important, because a generator type, both generator and Manny Gen, they need to burn off that energy every day. They need to get to a point where they feel exhausted. When they do that, they sleep really well. The more you can create that as a rhythm and routine for them, the better. So you might, with your generator, have some kind of playtime right before bed. Maybe they wrestle. Maybe they even play a board game that gets kind of, or a game that that might be where you have a kid play a little video game and gets them going, where you wouldn't do that with a manifester or projector or reflector. You would do that with a generator, creating a space where they can have some intense playtime. The other thing that I want you to know is, if you're trying to get your generator or manifesting generator child to take action, you can kind of manipulate them if you ask them the right yes, no questions. So if you need them to clean their room or you need them to do certain things, you can get them there by asking them the right yes, no that gets their sacral going. The other thing, and for those of you that are generator types, you can relate to this. As kids, we were often told to stop grunting when an adult asked us a question. I'm going to offer for you parents, if you have a generator or manifesting generator child, you want to keep them in their grunt as much as possible. Because what happens is their true yes or no comes from a very visceral space in their sacral that sounds like like the more connected they stay to that, the more they will know what is right decisions for them. And you will be able to teach them how to trust what their body is telling them about yes, no, what's safe for them, what's not, really giving them that sort of intuitive hit where they can listen to how their body is humming. And so I would offer that you want to get them into that grunt, not out of it, and help them connect to what feels like joy. The more your generator, when they are aligned, your generator child, like I said, they're easy. They just walk around like a bundle of joy. They're the happy kid. They're like lit up. They want to play all the time. They're savoring life. They're curious. This is how you know your generator child's really aligned, because they're just a bundle of joy. They're really easy. They're following their bliss, following their curiosity. The more you can support your child in that kind of play, which again, if you go back to yesterday, it's why I said they should not come home from school and go to homework right away. They need to do some kind of play activity that, one, burns their energy, two, gives them that spark of joy and creativity, and then they can go focus on the task at hand, which is sitting down and doing their homework. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. Moving to the Manny Gen, all of that. And so I will say, though, because you are part generator, part manifesting generator, their mornings might not be as routine, but they do need to move their body first thing in the morning. I wake up, I'm a manifesting generator. I wake up and literally, as soon as I'm done going to the bathroom and whatever, I literally put my dog on a leash and we go for a walk. I need to move my body before I do anything else. The more you get some of that energy burned off, the more you can get your manifesting generator grounded to start their day. You might also want to encourage that while they're moving their body, different than a generator doesn't necessarily need to do this. The Manny Gen might need to be listening to a podcast or an audiobook. They need to be doing multiple things at once. They are the child, unfortunately. If you've got a manifesting generator child, and especially if we go back to that first chart where you see that there might have a lot of definition, if there's someone like me, this can be the child that can cause some chaos in the morning. Because when they get going, they got 20 things going on. They haven't finished their breakfast, but now they're doing this and now they're doing that. And you're trying to wrangle the rest of the kids to finish breakfast or do the thing. And this is, again, I'm going to go back to the what I said when we started the call. This isn't just if you got kids going to school. This is just if you got littles and it doesn't matter what age your kids are. These morning routines and evening routines are so critical, and they can be very challenging when you've got multiple energies going on. That, again, trying to find the right rhythm that supports everybody. Because for a generator type, the morning is going to be their most critical time of day. For a non-generator type, your manifestors, and especially your projectors and your reflectors, how they end their day is everything. And so again, your manifesting generator might be the child that has the hardest time going to sleep, because here's the difference between a manifesting generator and a generator. A generator, when a generator's done, like I said, they can fall asleep anywhere. When they are done, when they are exhausted, they're ready to go to sleep. They can't go to bed until they are fully exhausted. A manifesting generator needs to catch the window right before they get exhausted, because what happens, especially if they have a lot of definition or a lot of power in their chart, if they get that motor going again, oftentimes it can take like 90 minutes to bring that energy back down. And so I'll give the example, talking to my friend, we'll be in a space and she's done, she's exhausted, she falls asleep. But because the quality of the conversation we're in, I'm now activated. I sit there and I'm like, well, I got to figure something I'm going to do, because I can't go to sleep for another hour and a half because I'm all amped up again. It's the Manny Gens are the ones that I'm always like, if you ever been around people like, I feel like I got my second wind. Manny Gens get like second wins, fourth wins, 19th wins. They've got to be careful they don't have something that, as they're getting tired, stimulates them again. This can be kind of a tricky thing to start testing and experimenting when you have a manifesting generator, because you need to get them to bed right as they're hitting that window of feeling exhausted. before something happens that gets their energy revved up again. Hopefully that makes sense. And for those of you that might be managing parents, curious how that resonates with you, if that feels like it hits. Again, keep them in their grunt. Really help them check in with their body and that visceral sound. The other thing is honor their switches. This can be also very difficult with a manifesting generator. Most manifesting generators, now if they have some different things in the rest of their chart, this could change. But most manifesting generators are either on or they're off. Trying to get your kid to do something when their energy is off, I mentioned this yesterday, is like trying to push a snail through quicksand. It will be torturous for both you and them. Now, there are ways, I'm not going to go into all of them, but I'm going to let you know there are ways that you can manipulate that to get them motivated to do the things they have to do, even when they're sticking their heels in, digging their heels in, and they're like, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like doing anything. There are ways to combat that, but no, that is another thing to understand that some mornings your manifesting generator child could feel very different. Now, the better quality sleep they have, the more they're going to be like the generator child that kind of bounces out of bed, ready to do their day, get into their flow. And like the manifester child, once they're in their flow in the morning, you don't want to interrupt them. You want to give them clear guidelines on, we need to leave the house by 7:30. Here's what you need to get done between then. Go at it. And give them the room and the flexibility to move through their flow, do the different things, have their little, I like to say Manny Gens are kind of like the Tasmanian devil. They're a bit chaotic. And when they get wound up, they might need to get ready in a different place from everybody else so that they're not getting everybody else's energy riled up. Because I will say, if you have a manifestor child, a projector child, or even a generator child with a lot of openness in their chart, you might find that they get riled up more than the Manny Gen. It's because they're picking up the manifesting generator's energy and they're amplifying it. So if you got a kid that's really amped up, that's not a Manny Gen, they're picking up the energy from the Manny Gen and they're then amplifying that. And so a lot of times when we see behavior issues or we see challenges or the chaos, really got to be mindful of where that energy is coming, because then the strategies for how we sort of work through that are different if, oh, it's my Manny Gen who just needs to be in their flow and be kind of chaotic and do their thing over here, and everybody else needs to go over here and kind of take a breath and get their day going. I will also say, and I feel, I know there's a couple of you who have signed up for this that are projector parents. If you got a manifesting generator child as a projector parent, and especially have a manifesting generator child who, again, if you look at my chart, their chart looks something like this, like mine. They got a lot of color in it, a lot of definition. As a projector parent, how you take care of yourself is going to be everything, because you are going to be exhausted by this child more times than not, because they are a lot of energy and they are going to bring a lot of energy that then you are taking in constantly. There are ways to balance that, but I see that a lot with projector parents who have a very lit up manifesting generator child. And I know there was issues. My dad was a projector. I'm a Manny Gen. Now, mind you, that was a whole different energy too. But yes, and even my mom, who's a generator, but she has a lot of openness in her chart. One of her favorite things to tell me constantly was, oh my God, Candy, you exhaust me. Which I did not like hearing as a child, by the way. You really don't want to tell your child that. But she's like, oh my God, you wear me out. Which my response was, really? You only have to listen to what I say and what I'm doing. Try being in my body for once. But constantly, like I still can have conversations with my mom on the phone that when I get lit up, I can actually hear her rolling her eyes on the phone, or I can hear the exasperated sigh where she's just like, oh my God, that was too much. Now we have a little bit running joke around it. I understand that. But as a child, that was really hard to hear, because your Manny Gen often gets told they're too much. And what I would offer, just like with the manifester, be mindful of the boundaries you create with no, and be mindful with the conversations around them being too much. Give them space where they can be too much, where other people are not picking, including you. If you're a projector parent or a manifester parent, you are not picking that energy up. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. The projector child. Oh my goodness. I have such a soft spot for projectors. Again, I'm going to say that. Uh, Bedtime is absolutely the most significant time for a projector, especially if your projector, and I'm going to speak projector and reflector together because reflectors need to do this as well because they're fully open. If you're a projector parent or you have a projector child, you are taking in a lot of energy on a daily basis. One of the best things you can do for yourself is minimum 1 hour before bed, zero blue light or technology. Like you are clearing your field completely from social media, emails, television, anything that has that electronic blue light or frenetic energy to it. You will do very well to make sure there is at least an hour where that is a technology free zone. And both my projectors and reflectors, manifestors, you can feel this out. Manifestors are different in this, but projectors and reflectors, you might also want to experiment with laying flat. I mean, flat, either on the ground or on your bed or on a couch before you go to sleep, and literally just imagine or just let the buildup of energy that you have gotten all day long fall off your body. Let Mother Earth take it. Oh, no worries, Melissa. Definitely catch the rest of the replay. But make sure that you allow yourself to lay flat and let the buildup of energy just drop out of your body. The other thing I will say for projectors and reflectors, this is extremely important. And manifestors, again, you might want to experiment this, being that you're non-sacral, is be very mindful of what you eat before bed, if you eat anything, conversations you get into, and anything that creates mental stimulation. Because what will happen is that energy you pick up either in, it's not the time, if you're a projector parent, it's not the time you and your spouse are going to have the deep conversation about the kids. Because I'm going to tell you, that's not going to help you discharge out the energy that you've built up all day. Find a time maybe right after dinner, but that hour before bed needs to be sacred, that there is nothing that is stimulating your energy or activating your energetic field. That entire hour before bed should be all about how you discharge the buildup of energy. The more you can separate yourself out of, especially that sacral energy, the better. And you need to be in bed before you're actually tired, because again, like the manifester, it can take you a while to bring your body down so that you can get yourself grounded and discharged and cleared. Because here's what will happen: if you don't honor that space to discharge and ground yourself, you might even want to take a walk out in nature before bed, a nice walk. You're not going to go power walk like a generator type. You might just need to move your body. You might need to dance. You might need to shake it out a little bit. Because if you don't honor your evening ritual, what happens with the projector is they wake up already exhausted because they didn't clear the field. And now they still have this buildup of energy that's in their body that's stuck. And it's why so many projectors wake up tired, because they're not honoring what they need before they go to bed. In the morning, this is the kid, your reflector too. This is the kid that you might need to wake up you might need to go in and get them going a couple times, because they shouldn't be the kid that jumps right out of bed. They actually should sort of slowly rise. They might need to like meditate, journal, just lay there for a minute. They do really well to have more space versus less to get going in their morning. They have a slow ramp up. It's gentle movements. It's leisurely, kind of like, and I know this is not always easy, especially if you got school age kids, because it's hard to manage these schedules, but where possible. I will also say, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow when we talk about extracurricular activities and weekends. This is the child that I highly encourage you to explore pajama days, meaning one of the days on the weekend, they are not expected to do any activities, not expected to do any chores, especially if they don't get some of this during the week that they need to get into sort of their slow rhythm. they need a day that they can fully rest and restore and recharge their batteries. And so I'm going to talk about that more tomorrow, but I want you to recognize that these children need a lot of rest. The other thing that I'm going to offer to you is ask for their advice, recognize their wisdom, and give them space to really feel seen and heard. Be very mindful when bitterness shows up for your projector. It is a signal that they are deeply depleted. That bitterness kicks in because they are resource deficient. They will need that pajama day or a couple, because when your projector children get burnt out, they don't recover quickly. And so the more you can proactively set up ways that they can take naps, get rest, they can slow down, they can honor the fact that they're going to need more sleep likely than their generator or manifesting generator sibling. They might need 10 hours of sleep a night, that there's no shame in that. They are not lazy. They literally need a lot of rest and restoration. Reflectors are a lot of the same. The one thing I will say for them is that the way they take in energy, though, is very different than the others that have openness in their chart. While they take in energy in all the centers, their biggest challenge, they're going to need the same bedtime and morning routines as the projector. But the challenge for the reflector is to see where they're getting enmeshed in other people's identities, other people's stories, or other people's way of being. One of the best ways you can support them is helping them figure out what their identity is and helping them tap into deeper confidence and belief in how special they are. These kids can struggle a lot with confidence. The other thing is, this is going to be the child that, especially if you're a manifesting generator parent, it's going to work your patience to be present and hold spaces to just let them talk. They need a lot of space to ramble. They need a lot of space because they're trying to figure out their identity and all of what they're picking up and making sense. And as a manifesting generator with a reflector child, it can be really, manifesting generators struggle in general. So this is also for your children if they're managing with patience. And a reflector child can really be mindful you're not finishing their sentences. Be mindful that you're not trying to move them faster. A reflector child needs a lot of space, a lot of patience, and a lot of room to just ramble and talk until they're done talking. And so those are the things that I would offer for how you help your kids navigate their morning and evenings. Like I said at the beginning, I want to talk a minute about next steps. And so I mentioned I'm watching, and I know I've gotten some feedback from some who have watched the replay, and those of you that have been on here, I'm watching some of the ahas in the registration around, holy crap, I feel seen. How do you know my child? You've never met them. I got a couple of those messages yesterday that were like, I feel like you know my child inside and you've never even met them. And I'm like, it's kind of the nature of human design. Some of you are already starting to sense that this is work you want to go a little bit deeper in. You really want to understand how to not only support what you need as a parent and a leader, but also create an environment that supports the totality of your family dynamic and your children. And so I mentioned at the beginning, I am not offering some kind of program, some kind of course, some kind of group mastermind, because I don't think that's the right next steps. This is work that is very personal. Some of you also have mentioned feeling triggered about some things, or there's things that show up oftentimes that when it comes to shame or wounding or things even from your own childhood, this work is deeply personal. So what I want to offer you is an opportunity to explore what next steps look like for you and your family, not some generic, here's how I'm going to handle everybody, that you're going to get one-on-one access to me. I don't know what that looks like until we have a discovery call. So what I am offering, and I'm going to put it in the chat as well, but I will send this out in an email. I want you have opportunity to get on my calendar, and it's for 45 minutes up to, if we need that much time, great. If not, also great. But 45 minutes where we can talk through what's showing up for you and where it might make sense for you to explore this on a deeper level, and then together create something that is very customized to your parenting style, to your leadership, and again, to the totality of what you need to support you, your family, and just the overall family dynamic. So I encourage you to get on my calendar. I'm going to be doing some traveling. So when you go out, it will look kind of funky that I have stuff open on a Sunday. I've opened up some times so that we can have this conversation now and you don't have to push this off. So I encourage you, get on my calendar. We can explore what it looks like. But what I'm offering is access to me directly to work with you and your family, or just you. It, again, this is part of what gets customized in a one-on-one capacity to meet you where you're at and build something that's going to be meaningful for you, that doesn't just provide some one size fits all. So I wanted to let you know that today, because I know I've already had some people that, even though they weren't on here, I got messages saying, Candy, I think I'm going to want to go deeper on this. This is really hitting some things. I want to give you ability to have access to it now. I'm going to talk about it again tomorrow, but this is what is the most powerful next step. It's, let's do this work together in a really intimate, sacred way, where you can get into some of the stuff that maybe you're not going to want to be putting out into a room with random strangers or having that conversation. And so we can explore what support looks like from there. So that being said, I want to offer you a little game you can play with your family that could potentially be fun and give, especially those that don't have a defined throat or are non-sacral type, opportunity, or not a manifestor or a manifesting generator that sometimes have a hard time using their voice, giving everyone in your family a chance to be seen and heard in a way that could be kind of fun. It's also a game that when you need to like maybe burn a little bit of energy for your kids, you can play this as well. And it's called Sweet Sour Monkey. And what it means is everybody gets an opportunity. And so if it's a generator type, you want to kind of ask a yes, no. Did you have something today that was good, sweet thing you want to share? What was something that kind of felt sour or didn't feel good? And then what was something that was kind of weird or crazy or kind of like playful, right? And so same thing, it's kind of everybody gets their turn to do Sweet Sour Monkey, which is name something that was really cool, something that was fun, that was cool. I said cool twice. Whatever, it was good. It felt good. Something that maybe didn't go so well during the day, and then something that was kind of like crazy or funny, or giving everybody a chance to learn how to tell their stories and use their voice is also really important in a family dynamic, especially if you have manifestor energy or manifesting generator with your children. You can have, and I know my sister and I are both manifesting generators, and my brother was a very open generator, that my brother's voice got lost a lot when we were kids because my sister and I would speak for him. And so having something like this back then would have been very useful for my brother to learn how to use his voice more. And so if you have a child that you don't feel speaks up enough, or you have a child that maybe doesn't feel like they fit in even with your family, this is an opportunity where creating games like this where everybody gets a turn, one, slows your manifesting generator children down so that they actually have to have patience to listen and actively listen. It allows those that either don't have a defined throat, so the third one down on your chart, if it's not defined, how to use their voice and be invited in. It allows your projectors and reflectors and even manifestors, well, your manifestors have a defined throat, but allows them to feel seen, gives them space to be heard. It lets everybody kind of bring their own flavor to the table. So just wanted to share that with you because I think it's a really easy and fun way to create space where everybody gets a turn, where everybody gets to be seen and everybody gets to be heard, which is oftentimes something that is an unconscious energetic friction that shows up in families. Is there's a kid that always feels left out. And again, likely if you've got a projector or even a generator that has a lot of openness, they may feel like they never get to speak up, or why should they speak up because everybody talks over them. Again, creating ways that invite everyone to the table and slow down those that want to override or take over in some capacities. And so I want to give you just a couple closing nuggets of wisdom, and then I'm happy to open it up for questions or little hot heart seat coaching again. But again, this whole process, everything that we're talking about, I want you to really, again, have compassion and grace for yourself to know that this is a learning process. You are, in a sense, learning new skills that you did not have as a child growing up. You are learning new parenting strategies. You are learning things about yourself that are cracking wide open, let alone what's cracking wide open for your kids. So keep learning, stay curious, be patient, allow yourself time to get to know your children differently. Allow yourself to really understand how their energetic blueprint operates and how yours operates in conjunction with them. Again, that discovery call, this is where we can explore how would we set up some space where we could map out your energy with everybody in the families, how your kids play together, how your other partner plays together. All of that is up for exploration. Also, be your kid's biggest advocate. When you really start to understand how your child is wired, make sure you fight for their voice and fight for when someone wants to put a label on them, especially in school or preschool or otherwise, when they want to say, oh, your kid's got ADHD. Oh, your kid is like never pays attention. I can remember people saying things to my sister where she wasn't smart. No, she actually was dyslexic and learns in a different way, but she's also a Manny Gen who needed to be stimulated in different ways. The more you understand your child's energetic blueprint, the more you can truly be an advocate for them and set them up for success in a way that makes them feel worthy and valued and not like something is wrong with them, which our traditional systems are very quick to label and call out what we think is wrong with another person. And then the last one is consistency. The more you can be consistent, the more you can show up and create that presence, the better. And so